Hello everyone. Right now you see total darkness, but I can assure you I am at a cemetery. And I'm not going to give out the location of this cemetery. Now the reason why I'm filming is because this is a very interesting cemetery, and I'm going to show you in a moment what I mean. And also I'm here at night because, one, it's a little bit creepier that way, and two, it is hot as hell during the day, so I would like to film at night. Now here you see a mound of dirt, and here's another mound of dirt, and so on and so on. Now the reason why this is interesting is because some of these graves are recent, and some of these graves are the graves of John Does, and I'm going to show you an example. Now before I show you those John Doe graves, here's a grave here. You can tell it's pretty fresh with the dirt and everything here. However, there's no information on this person. Now, some of these graves, they just have these markers here with numbers. There was 173. And here we have just 172. And a mound of dirt. Now my theory is that some of these graves, they have names. You can tell there's a name here. Some of these graves belong to people who are homeless, kind of like a pauper's graveyard, if you will. Now the interesting thing about this is that, like I mentioned, these graves just go on and on. They're in rows. I wish you could see better than the lighting that I have right now, but you could see all these graves here, one by one. Here's that John Doe grave that I was talking about. John Doe, aka E. Rowley, with a number on it. And it's just more and more graves. Now, what's interesting is that this is the back of the cemetery where I'm at right now. This is all the back part of it. See the fence right here and a grave marker. However, this grave yard, if you will, is pretty old. It has a bunch of old graves over there, which you can't see from the camera, but I'll show you in a minute. But all these mounds of dirt here, all the mounds of dirt right here, either has a little number like this or a temporary grave marker. And like I said, I believe these were either homeless people where they didn't have the money to bury them at a proper cemetery, or they were just unknown people that were found dead on the side of the street in downtown, and they were eventually later identified. I am not too sure. But it just goes on and on and on. Here are just some more graves along the fence line here. And it just goes as far as where that building is over there. Here we have this grave with a little light there. I'm not sure what that's about. Let me show you an example real quick of just how old this cemetery is, because the people that died here, here's an example. Burkhart died in 1937. They died just days apart from each other. December 17th, 1937 to, and then Emil, December 20th, 1937. Now there's a bunch of, like I said, older tombstones here. So it's interesting that they decided to put these paupers' graves in this old cemetery. As you saw previously, that one of those paupers' graves, you know, they go as recent as this year, 2022 or 2021. And it's like they decided, you know what, this cemetery is old, we need a place to put these paupers' graves, and they decided to put them here. Let's see if we could find any more pauper graves here. Okay, so here is a grave marker here. You can see unknown. Person passed away or was found on August 30th, 2005. Now that marker that I showed you earlier with the date August 30th, 2005, eventually this person was identified, and this is his new grave marker. And at first he had a marker number 120, and before that, or after that, another person was buried right over here, no marker at all. And then you have another number 134. And it's just really interesting that some of these people haven't been identified. And there's even more markers over here going forward. So you got 25, 26. So who knows how many John or Jane Does are at this cemetery. There's even, it just goes on and on. Like I said, you know, they had no use for this cemetery, this old cemetery, and they felt that this would be the perfect place to place the poor or the people that didn't have an identity on them when they passed. So that pretty much does it. As you can see, there are a bunch of other old grave markers here. We're towards the front of the cemetery. We were just back over there a while ago where all the Jane and John Does are buried. But as I mentioned, some of them have been identified and they were just left there. And that pretty much wraps up this cemetery. I thought it would be interesting to share a cemetery at night video. Of course, I mean no disrespect at all. And I wanted to share those interesting graves with you. So thank you for watching.